Chapter 1. The Consequences of Singularity. Central City. This moment. Central City resembled a scene from the apocalypse, as a vortex-like black hole suddenly emerged in the sky, devouring the world. Dark clouds rolled ominously, obscuring half the sky, while people screamed and fled in terror. Outside the Advanced Technology Laboratory, the crowd that had just rushed out was in a state of utter panic as they confronted this terrifying spectacle. Cisco Ramon exclaimed, "What we dreaded has come pass." Caitlin Snow inquired, "What is it doing?" Dr. Martin Stein responded, "It is consuming everything. Even if the Earth were to perish, the singularity would remain. I fear the accretion disk has already formed." Joe stared incredulously at Dr. Stein and asked, "What?" Dr. Stein glanced back at Joe, explaining, "The scatter matter is orbiting around the singularity." Caitlin Snow sought clarification. "What does that mean?" Barry Allen interjected, "We must halt its progression. Simply put, it's like a tornado, larger and far more terrifying, but with its mouth facing downward." Dr. Stein cautioned, "Barry, that place has energy levels exceeding 6.7 megaelectron volts. It cannot be stopped." Turning to Dr. Stein, Barry Allen declared, "I must try." With that, he donned his mask and sprinted towards the expanding singularity. Meanwhile, in the bustling city of New York, sunlight was abruptly obscured by the tumultuous, swirling clouds, resembling a tornado forming. Striking bolts of crimson and gold lightning danced within the storm. Gradually, the brilliant flashes faded and the tempest vanished in an instant, creating an illusion of a fleeting phenomenon. Within a base self-identified as the Department of Homeland Strategic Defense, Attack, and Logistics, a technician reported to a bald African-American man clad in a black leather coat, one eye concealed by a black eye patch. "Sir, we've just detected a surge of immense energy from the cosmic cube. It appeared suddenly and then disappeared just as quickly." Nick Fury, upon hearing this, pondered, "What did the doctor say?" The technician replied, "The doctor indicated that the situation is still under analysis. Then have him report back to me once the analysis is complete." Barry Allen slowly opened his eyes, gazing at the unfamiliar room in confusion. Recalling the moment he attempted to thwart the singularity, he remembered how Ronnie Raymond and Dr. Martin Stein had combined their powers as Firestorm to detonate their energy and prevent the singularity from expanding. After they separated, Barry first found Dr. Stein and set him down, watching as the singularity gradually dissipated. Reluctantly, he ran towards the vanishing singularity, unwilling to accept Ronnie's fate. Ultimately, he must have lost consciousness, but he still had not found Ronnie. With this thought, Barry attempted to rise, but his body felt unresponsive and sore. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone there? Cisco? Caitlin? Joe? Dr. Stein? Is anyone there?" The door to the room creaked open, revealing a stunningly beautiful woman whom Barry did not recognize. She wore a flowing white gown, her golden hair cascading gracefully over her shoulders. She paused in the center of the room, her long, dark eyelashes resembling delicate brushstrokes, casting a thick shadow on her porcelain cheeks as she lowered her gaze. Upon noticing Barry awake, she fixed her large, bright eyes on him and offered a gentle smile, saying, "Oh, you're awake." Barry blinked in surprise. "Yes. May I ask who you are?" "I am Eileen Enid," she replied. "I found you unconscious by the roadside and brought you to my home. Given your unusual attire, I refrained from changing you." Are you attending a masquerade ball?" Taken aback, Barry hesitated and asked, "You don't recognize me?" "Well, of course not. How could I recognize you with that mask on? Are you someone I know?" "Who are you?" Eileen Enid inquired. Barry, feeling lost, replied, "I am the Flash." Eileen Enid looked puzzled. "The Flash? Are you a superhero? Like Spider-Man?" Barry continued to frown in confusion. "Spider-Man? Who is that?" Eileen Enid's bewilderment deepened. "You don't know Spider-Man? He's a superhero from New York, a vigilante." Barry was stunned, as he had no knowledge of this New York she spoke of. He quickly asked, "New York? What is that? Is this America?" Eileen Enid was both surprised and perplexed, wondering if he was jesting or simply out of touch, questioning someone who appeared to be unfamiliar with New York. She regarded him with a hint of caution. "New York is in America, the largest metropolis. How could you not know? You're not suffering from amnesia, are you?" Barry felt increasingly disoriented, as he had never heard of New York. Believing that Central City was the foremost metropolis of America, he stared intently into Eileen Enid's beautiful light blue eyes, trying to discern if she was jesting with him, though he found the jest unsettling and frightening. Suppressing his discomfort, Barry slowly sat up. Eileen Enid, noticing his struggle, immediately lowered her guard and offered her assistance. "Are you all right? Do you feel unwell?" His pale lips trembled slightly, devoid of color, as if they were desperate to convey something unspoken. After a moment of silence, Barry fixed his gaze on Eileen Enid, studying her eyes and expression closely. "Are you joking with me?" Eileen Enid furrowed her brow in response. "What joke? What do you mean?" Barry pressed. "Do you know Central City, Star City?" He mentioned several city names, observing Eileen Enid's reaction as she slowly shook her head, indicating her ignorance. He was left in a state of stunned silence. Chapter 2. The Disarray Caused by Barry. In the vibrant city of New York at night, the habitual night owls often utter a common phrase: "The night is still young." For these nocturnal beings, the evening in this ancient yet fervent metropolis serves as a veritable paradise of joy. However, for Barry at this moment, such delights were inconsequential. Especially upon realizing that the world he inhabited was not his own, he appeared dazed and bewildered. Eileen Enid observed Barry as he sat vacantly at the doorway, gazing out at the scenery, choosing not to disturb him. Indeed, she was equally astounded. After their conversation, witnessing Barry suddenly vanish before her very eyes startled her. As night descended, she watched him return, forlorn and despondent, taking a seat once more at the entrance. Eileen remained in a state of dreamy disbelief, tinged with concern and trepidation, particularly given the recent surge of news regarding mutants. Holding a set of men's clothing and a pair of shoes, Eileen approached Barry and said, "Barry, here are the clothes and shoes I just purchased for you. Please change into them. The pizza I ordered will arrive shortly. You haven't eaten anything since you woke up?" Barry, regaining his composure, looked at Eileen and her offerings, replying, "Thank you, Eileen. Please let me be for a moment." After placing the clothes and shoes beside him, Eileen stood upright and gazed at Barry, frowning slightly as she inquired, "Very well, Barry by the way. Would you like some coffee?" "No, thank you, Eileen," he replied. "Oh, all right, then." The annoying yet enchanting stars dotted the New York skyline, while the ordinary folks indulged in their nightlife, oblivious to the bustling activities of the aerial aircraft carrier belonging to the Department of Homeland Strategic Defense and Logistics, soaring at tens of thousands of feet above that a tall, striking woman, adorned with a headset and clad in a black combat uniform emblazoned with an eagle insignia on both sleeves, strode confidently to the command center. Her right leg bore a holstered firearm, and her black hair, tied back in a ponytail, swayed with her movements as she addressed Nick Fury, who had his back to her. "Director Fury." Nick Fury turned to face her, his expression calm as he regarded the woman before him. "Agent Hill, what brings you here?" Maria Hill held up her tablet, and, after a few swift motions, multiple screens behind Nick Fury illuminated with various images from disparate locations. Each image bore a common element, a vague golden-red glow. Moving closer to Nick Fury, Maria pointed at the indistinct golden-red light on the screens, stating, "This afternoon, these areas captured footage of this phenomenon. The commonality is that indistinct golden-red glow. I suspect this might be a newly emerged speedster mutant." Nick Fury, with a solitary eye gleaming sharply with intensity, scrutinized each image closely. He then spoke slowly, "Get me in touch with Professor X. Inquire about the situation." "Understood, sir." Maria Hill acknowledged. Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Professor X sat in his wheelchair, gazing at the strikingly beautiful Jean Grey, whose vibrant red hair was nothing short of breathtaking. After a moment of silence, she spoke, "I just received a call from Nick Fury at S.H.I.E.L.D. They have discovered a speedster mutant and wanted to inquire about the situation. We must locate him swiftly. Let us hope he has not already wrought irreparable tragedy by the time we find him." Jean's face displayed a hint of concern, her brow furrowed. "Indeed, we must act quickly to prevent Eric from finding him first," Professor X emphasized, tapping the armrest of his wheelchair. Morning. At the home of Eileen. "Are you truly not a mutant, Barry?" Eileen Enid asked, her mouth full of a hamburger as she glanced at the worried man seated across from her, who sipped coffee. His skin was pale and delicate, and his bright, clear blue eyes revealed a glimmer of sadness. He had a straight nose with an attractive curve and chestnut hair that shimmered softly. "No, I do not know. I'm unfamiliar with what you mean by mutant. If you're referring to individuals with superpowers, then perhaps I am," he replied. "That a mutant is someone whose genes have mutated, typically during adolescence, granting them special abilities. Of course, this is all based on what I have heard in the news." "Oh, I see. Then I am not one that I in life. One cannot always remain on the defensive sometimes. To achieve success, one must take the initiative." At that moment, Barry recalled what Joe had said to him during his high school football days, that he needed to find a way back. His family and friends needed him. He murmured, "I must return." Eileen Enid looked at Barry in confusion, pausing mid-bite. Barry smiled faintly at her bewilderment. It's nothing, Eileen. The third party. First encounter with Spider-Man. Barry donned his gear, a red, form-fitting suit adorned with a yellow lightning bolt emblem across his chest. Yellow lightning. Motifs encircling his elbows and waist, lightning-shaped decorations by his ears, and red running shoes. From Eileen, he learned that this world, like his own, also had many individuals with superhuman abilities, though some referred to them as mutants. This world was perilous. Aside from certain cities and people differing from his own world, the remaining distinctions were minimal. The language spoken remained English. Numerous countries existed here as they did in his world, having also endured 2 world wars. However, the world wars in this realm were more fantastical. How strikingly similar these 2 worlds were. Barry had contemplated creating a singularity to see if he could return, but after much reflection, he abandoned the idea. He did not believe it would guarantee his return, and even if he did succeed, what would happen to the singularity he had created? Would he allow it to consume this world? Such a course of action was something he deemed himself incapable of, despite his fervent desire to return to his own world immediately. According to his acquired knowledge, this time may not resemble the 2 previous time travels he experienced. Moreover, he perceives this new world as a parallel universe, existing alongside his original universe, both similar yet distinct. He remains utterly unaware of how he arrived here, nor does he know how to return. He is oblivious to the profound sorrow that Joe and the others are currently enduring. In the sky, airborne aircraft carriers soar, while countless men and women equipped with headsets diligently carry out their tasks. This moment, a technician reports to the commanding officer, the impeccably composed and strikingly cold Maria Hill, standing at the command post. Commander, we have detected. The golden red speed mutant once again activates satellite surveillance. Maria Hill replies in a frigid tone. Barry races through the streets of New York, grappling with the familiarity of a city that feels entirely alien to him. However, due to the astonishing resemblance of this world to his own, he traverses the streets with ease. Amidst his sprint, the distant sound of sirens pierces the air, accompanied by incessant screams. Upon witnessing the chaos wrought by a malfunctioning crane, Barry immediately rushes toward the scene. The crane collides with a building, sending numerous items tumbling down, endangering the shoppers and passers-by below. With a swift whoosh, the crowd narrowly escapes peril, their faces reflecting confusion and astonishment. Finally, the objects in the sky succumb to gravity, crashing down with a cacophony of bangs and crashes, leaving the once bewildered onlookers in a state of shock. At that moment, cries for help emanate from the building, and the surrounding crowd erupts in anxious screams. Barry swiftly ascends the building in a flash of golden red light. He embraces the screaming woman just as he notices a figure clad in red and blue, shooting web-like strands toward the scene. A thought crosses Barry's mind. Could this be the superhero Spider-Man? In an instant, the woman who had been desperately calling for help from the upper floors now stands safely on the ground, her beautiful face displaying a look of bewilderment as she processes the situation that a police officer approaches her. Prompting a reaction, her complexion pales to a ghostly white, while dark blue rings form around her tear-filled eyes as she cries out, "Dad." Spider-Man stands by, astonished by the scene he has just witnessed. Meanwhile, Barry has returned to Eileen's home, changed his attire, and settled onto the sofa. A subtle smile graces his lips as he appears to be lost in thought, yet exudes an air of cheerfulness. The lines on his cheeks seem to embody his inherent optimism. "Commander, we have pinpointed the location of the mutant." "Understood." Maria Hill's icy tone resonates, her expression remaining composed, captivating, yet distant, radiating an ethereal brilliance. Chapter 4. I Am Iron Man. Within Eileen's residence, she and Barry are enjoying lunch, while live coverage of a press conference featuring billionaire and Stark Industries chairman Tony Stark plays on the television. It has been quite some time since I spoke in this manner, so I shall recite it as is. Some have cast doubt upon my connection to the incident on the highway and the mishap atop the company building. Tony Stark remarked in a rather dry tone. "Forgive my interruption, Mr. Stark, but do you genuinely believe we would accept the notion of an armored guardian descending from the heavens? Not to mention, a blonde reporter seated in the audience was relentlessly posing questions that, I understand it may seem implausible. Questioning the official account is one thing. However, insinuating that I am a superhero and condemning me is an entirely different matter." He replied, "I did not assert that you are a superhero, and no." "Ah, well, that is fortunate, for such a notion is quite peculiar and absurd. I am clearly not cut out to be a hero. I possess numerous flaws and have made my share of blunders. Tony Stark was interrupted by an officer beside him and picked up the slip of paper in his hand, reading aloud, in fact. He paused for a moment. That I am Iron Man. The entire live broadcast erupted in astonishment. Oh my goodness! Erin exclaimed in awe as she witnessed this scene on television. Barry found it equally astounding. To him, such revelations were utterly unexpected. Aren't superheroes typically secretive about their identities? Where else would one find someone like Tony Stark so brazenly exposing himself? Erin, I truly appreciate your hospitality. However, I intend to seek employment. I cannot continually impose upon you, Barry said with a resigned shrug. Barry, please don't say that. It is no trouble at all for me. We rely on relatives at home and friends when we step outside. We are friends now, Erin replied, a gentle smile gracing her face as she looked at Barry. Barry gazed upon Erin's smile, which seemed to emanate a light from within his soul, dispelling the worries that had clouded his heart, akin to the radiant glow of spring sunlight. Knock, knock, knock. A series of knocks resonated at the door. Erin stood up and opened the door to reveal a gentleman in his 30s, elegantly dressed in a suit, who bore a gentle demeanor. May I ask who you are? Erin inquired hesitantly. Miss Erin Enid, good day. I am Phil Coulson. You may simply call me Coulson. I am an agent of the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division. He introduced himself with a smile. Pardon? I'm sorry, Mr. Coulson. What did you just say your agency is? Observing Erin's perplexed expression, Coulson chuckled. Miss Erin Enid, the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division may be conveniently referred to as SHLD. He extended his hand. Erin shook his hand and asked, SHIELD? What is that? The FBI? CIA? Are you an agent? Similar in nature, though somewhat more specialized. We handle certain unique matters, he explained. Then, what brings you to me? Erin inquired, still puzzled oh no. I'm not here for you, Miss Erin Enid. I am here for the gentleman with whom you reside. Coulson responded awkwardly. At this moment, Barry approached upon hearing Coulson's words. Upon seeing Barry, Coulson extended his hand with a smile and said, Greetings, sir. I am Phil Coulson, here specifically to seek you out. After shaking hands, Barry replied, Hello, I am Barry Allen, but you may call me Barry. May I inquire what brings you here? Well. Seeing this, Eileen promptly interjected, Mr. Coulson, please come in and let's discuss this in the room. Chapter 5. A First Encounter with SHLD. Mr. Barry, the primary purpose of my visit is to invite you to join SHIELD, Coulson stated directly after taking a seat. What? Why? Because we are aware of your uniqueness. You are a superhero, Coulson continued, retrieving several photographs and documents from his briefcase to present to Barry. These images were captured by our satellite. However, due to your abilities, they're not very clear. Additionally, here are the transcript from the crane malfunction incident involving the individuals present at that time. All these serve to validate your capabilities. Barry perused the materials and images in silence. After a moment, he set the documents down, raised his gaze to Coulson, and said slowly, Mr. Coulson, I am not interested in joining SHIELD. Mr. Barry, please do not be so hasty in your refusal. By joining us, your normal life will remain undisturbed. We merely hope you can assist us with certain tasks. Why should I help you with your tasks? Coulson paused, momentarily taken aback. For the peace of society. I wonder if this reason might persuade you, Mr. Barry. Barry lowered his head in contemplation while Coulson quietly observed, his face betraying a sense of anticipation. Eileen suddenly approached, looking at the two, and asked, May I inquire what you would like to drink, Mr. Coulson? Water will suffice. Miss Eileen Enid. Just call me Eileen. And what about you, Barry? Barry smiled gently at Eileen, saying, Coffee, please. Thank you. As Eileen departed, Coulson inquired, So, Mr. Barry, have you given it some thought? Apologies, but I must decline your invitation. Will you not reconsider? Coulson asked, gently furrowing his brow as he regarded Barry's calm demeanor. Indeed, I remain entirely unfamiliar with your organization, and I harbor doubts about your intentions. Mr. Barry, there is truly no need for such apprehensions, Coulson remarked, puzzled by Barry's thoughts. I am sorry, Mr. Coulson. I must refuse, Barry replied with a smile. Barry contemplated the prospect of joining SHIELD with great caution. An organization that suddenly appeared before him, demanding his allegiance, certainly raised red flags. Moreover, he harbored no knowledge of this entity whatsoever. Under the most sinister assumptions, what if upon joining he were to be detained in the name of science, subjected to all manner of experiments, dissections, biopsies? The very thought sent shivers down his spine. It was as if the world around him was steeped in malevolence. How terrifying. Oh, I long to return home. Very well, Mr. Allen. I hope you will reconsider, Coulson replied after a moment of contemplation in response to Barry's words. Of course, Mr. Coulson. Then I shall take my leave for now, Mr. Allen. I will be in touch, Coulson said, rising to gather his briefcase. All right, Mr. Coulson. Goodbye, Mr. Allen. Goodbye, Mr. Coulson. At 8 that moment, Eileen emerged with water and coffee, her eyes lighting up upon seeing Coulson. Have you finished your discussion? Yes, indeed. Eileen, have you heard of the Shield? Huh? Eileen set down the water and coffee, her expression one of confusion. No, even. It's strange, I've never heard of such an organization in our country. Oh, Chapter 6, Recruiting Spider-Man. Director, Barry Allen has declined our invitation to join S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson reported calmly to Nick Fury. Nick Fury furrowed his brow, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes glinting with contemplation. Coulson, have we managed to gather any information on him? None, sir. There is absolutely no data. We have searched every database with no results. Either he lives deep in the wilderness, or he simply materialized out of thin air, Coulson replied, exasperated. Engage that playboy and extend an invitation for him to join us. I will handle the Spider-Man situation. I have my own plans regarding Barry Allen. Nick Fury stated in a measured tone after a moment's reflection. Understood, Director. Behold, the notorious queens of New York. The recently vindicated Spider-Man, Peter Benjamin Parker, had yet to vanish from the crowd's sight. Spider-Man. A low voice emanated from behind him. Huh? Peter quickly turned around, startled to see the one-eyed Nick Fury staring back at him. Once he regained his composure, he remarked, "Hey man, could you not be so intimidating?" "Child," Nick Fury said, gesturing towards the chaos surrounding them with a serious and somber tone, "we need to talk. While you did thwart the criminals, take a look around you. Much of this could have been avoided. You failed to consider the potential to spare the innocent. I did fairly well. Only for a novice who knows nothing. True." "A what?" Peter exclaimed, astonished. "Listen, every individual feels bewildered when they first embark on their journey. Although you are constantly rescuing others, there are matters within your capacity that you neglect, leading to unnecessary consequences. But if I were to train you to elevate your abilities further, how would you respond?" Peter shrugged. "I knew it. By the way, who are you?" "I am Nick Fury, affiliated with the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, commonly known as S.H.I.E.L.D. I am the director." "S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are you an agent? Are you suggesting I read a pile of self-help books?" "Not interested. Besides, I have not a dime to my name until payday, so if there's nothing else here, I think it'll be," Peter said, raising his hands and turning to leave. "I'm not jesting, Peter Parker." Upon hearing this, Peter immediately turned back to Nick Fury. "You know, I know everything. I am part of an intelligence organization." A subtle smile crept across Nick Fury's face. Peter was taken aback. With great power comes great responsibility, a wise adage left by a good person. Nick Fury's gaze was fixed intently on Peter. "Now, I present you with an opportunity to truly grasp what responsibility entails." "Translate that," Peter said, looking at Nick Fury with a faint expression. "I want S.H.I.E.L.D. to train you to become a stronger Spider-Man." "Why? Your talent combined with my training will enable you to learn how to be a better hero. Thank you for the suggestion, but I can't converse with strangers. I wish you a pleasant day, all right? Is that all?" After giving Nick Fury a glance, Peter turned to leave. "Hey, Spider-Man." "What?" Peter turned back to see Nick Fury tossing him an object, which he caught, and heard him say, "This is a new generation web shooter developed specifically for you by S.H.I.E.L.D. It's time to upgrade your technology. Give ours a try." Big and bulky, Peter tossed the web shooter in his hand. Noticing Nick Fury extending his hand, he quickly added, "But I didn't say it was unacceptable." "Ah, that's that. Farewell." Without waiting for Nick Fury to respond, he shot out a web and departed. "Youth these days," Nick Fury remarked with a sigh. Chapter 7, The Emergence of Sandman. On a bright and sunny day in New York, within the Manhattan district. Manhattan stands as the most densely populated yet the smallest of the 5 administrative boroughs of New York City. IT is often described as the economic and cultural nucleus of the entire United States, housing the central business district of New York City, and is renowned for being the region with the highest concentration of skyscrapers in the world. Many of Manhattan's attractions are globally recognized. Among them, Times Square, dubbed the crossroads of the world and the center of the universe, serves as the dazzling epicenter of Broadway theaters, one of the busiest pedestrian intersections globally and a focal point of the entertainment industry worldwide. Fifth Avenue, Barry gazed at the gleaming glass facades of the towering skyscrapers. Men in tailored suits and women clad in fashionable attire, clutching briefcases, flowed in and out of the high-rises, painting a portrait of refined and stylish modern American life. Turning to his companion, Aaron, he expressed, "Thank you, Aaron, for accompanying me in my job search." Aaron chuckled, "No need for thanks, I happen to be off today." Barry smiled, "I truly appreciate it. Once I'm financially stable, I shall treat you to a grand feast." At that moment, a cacophony of screams erupted ahead of them. Looking up, they witnessed pedestrians fleeing from the source of the commotion. Barry turned to Aaron and said, "I apologize, but I must investigate. Allow me to escort you home first, if you don't mind." Aaron nodded in agreement. Gunfire. A police officer shouted to his colleague at the scene. Bang, bang. The bullets struck the sandy figure with no discernible effect, only serving to enrage the creature further. The Sandman raised his arm, swinging a vicious uppercut towards the officers. Just then, a flickering golden electric current illuminated the air, whisking the officers aside. The Sandman transformed into a whirlwind of dust and fled, prompting Barry to pursue him urgently. "Citizens of New York, I stand here today because someone caught me when I fell from the 62nd floor. I do not know his identity, only that he appeared out of nowhere to save me and vanished once I was safe. However, I noticed shimmering golden currents surrounding him. Today, I wish to express my gratitude. I hope he is watching on television. Moreover, I must acknowledge another individual who has been quietly assisting us. I ask you all, when you plummet from a great height, when your store is robbed, or when your home catches fire, who comes to your rescue? Who strives to extinguish the flames? Who endeavors to save your children? Now, let us all welcome our neighborly friend, our hero Spider-Man." Gwen Stacy began to applaud. After sharing a kiss with Gwen Stacy, Peter suddenly observed a swirling gust of sand descending from the sky. He saw a figure clad in red attire appear amidst the crowd, helping those toppled by the tempest back to their feet. The strange whirlwind then ascended into the air, and upon closer inspection, the figure in red vanished without a trace. Peter promptly chased after the direction for which the sand had retreated. "Hey, friend, stop, will you?" Barry addressed the man before him. "That I do not wish to harm you. Just leave." Flint Marko, the Sandman, scowled at the lean figure in red and yellow that stood before him. Thud. "Hi, folks, are you racing?" Peter landed beside the armored cash truck, observing the two men before him. "Hello, Spider-Man." Barry greeted Peter warmly. "Greetings, my friend. Thank you for saving my girlfriend," Peter replied, his tone sincere. "Girlfriend?" Barry tilted his head, perplexed. Yes, the one who fell from the building. I've had enough. If you want to greet someone, go ahead and befriend them. Just stay out of my way." Flint Marko, the Sandman, could no longer tolerate the situation. How dare these two ignore me? My rage had reached its zenith. Oh, you not know that this place is under my jurisdiction? Peter turned to Flint Marko and asserted. "Very well," Flint Marko retorted, swinging a right hook toward Peter. Peter dodged and retaliated with a punch aimed at the Sandman's abdomen, only for his fist to pass through harmlessly. At that moment, the Sandman's right hand began to transform into sand, preparing to strike Peter. Sensing the impending danger, Barry swiftly pulled Peter away. Barry moved quickly, throwing punches at the Sandman, yet his efforts proved largely ineffectual. "Behold the might of my new webs linger," Peter exclaimed as he ensnared the Sandman in webs. However, the reprieve was short-lived in the blink of an eye. The Sandman vanished, dissolving into a cloud of fine sand. The taut spider's silk gradually slackened. Beneath the loosely draped webs, a mass of sand began to stir, as if swept by a fierce wind. As the sand took form, it gradually coalesced into a humanoid shape, and the Sandman began to restore his visage. The Sandman, taken aback by the two, transformed into a whirlwind of dust, sweeping away through the opening atop the armored vehicle. Chapter 8. Natasha's Visit. As they watched the Sandman completely disappear, Barry and Peter brought the armored vehicle to a halt and exchanged glances that by the way, "What's your name?" "That uniform looks quite dashing." Peter broke the silence. "You can call me the Flash. My friend designed and made the suit for me," Barry replied with a shrug, glancing at the crowd of onlookers snapping pictures. "This isn't the place for a chat. Let's find somewhere else," Barry suggested, tilting his head toward Peter. Peter nodded in agreement as he noticed the surrounding commotion. On the rooftop of a building, the two figures clad in red uniforms conversed at the edge. If anyone were to see them, they would recognize one as New York's very own vigilante, Spider-Man, while the other remained an enigmatic figure. The following day, major newspapers across New York prominently featured photographs of Peter and Barry standing in front of the armored vehicle. The headlines varied widely. Another Spider-Man? Who is the Flash? Yet another vigilante? Is Spider-Man assembling a team to tackle foes? This editor seems to be a gaming enthusiast. Is he a mutant? A question posed by someone previously bullied by mutants. Mass duo, best friends? And so forth. Eileen pointed at the photograph on the newspaper while smiling at Barry, who was seated on the sofa, sipping coffee. You've become quite the celebrity, Barry. You're now a household name. Great hero. Hearing Eileen's teasing tone, Barry set down his coffee and shrugged helplessly. I didn't wish for this. Sensing Barry's resignation, Eileen sat beside him, tilting her head curiously. What's wrong? Is this not a good thing, Barry? Eileen, you know well that fame is not my desire, nor do I wish to be anyone else's beacon of hope. At that moment, a strikingly beautiful woman with vibrant red hair, a prominent nose, brown eyes, and a porcelain complexion, exuding an air of cold elegance and grace, stood before Eileen's door, gently rapping on it. Who are you? Eileen inquired, a hint of surprise coloring her tone as she gazed at the enchanting figure before her. Greetings, Miss Eileen Enid. I am Agent Natasha of S.H.I.E.L.D. I am here to see Mr. Barry. Natasha Romanoff replied, offering a slight smile in her direction. Oh, please come in. You are quite persistent, aren't you? Barry remarked, looking at the alluring agent before him. Indeed, Mr. Barry. This time, we do not request you to join us, rather. We hope to establish a collaboration. Collaboration? Precisely. We seek your assistance when the need arises, and we shall provide compensation. Why must it be me? Aren't there numerous mutants available? Mr. Barry, that information is classified and cannot be disclosed. I am uncertain how I can assist you. I possess no particular skills, he responded. After a deliberative exchange, Barry gradually reached an understanding with Natasha Romanoff. Miss Natasha, I hope for a fruitful collaboration. Very well, Mr. Barry. Here is my contact information. You may reach out to me whenever you require assistance, Natasha said as she handed him a business card. Once Barry tucked it away, she added, Well then, Mr. Barry, I shall not impose any longer. Farewell, goodbye, Barry replied, watching her gracefully turn away. Her movements were elegant, her hand trailing behind her as she stepped forward with light strides, her hair flowing in the wake of her turn. Barry felt elated he had just successfully forged a collaborative agreement with S.H.I.E.L.D. This marked a promising beginning on his journey home. Although he remained wary of S.H.I.E.L.D., this foundation of cooperation could allow him to gradually understand them better. He pondered the possibility of traversing not only time, but also space. However, this would require considerable resources. After all, he lacked the specialized sustenance for replenishing blood sugar that Cisco had provided him. He certainly did not wish to experience another episode of fainting mid-run. Currently, he found himself without funds, and relying on Eileen's hospitality was not ideal, especially since he was quite the foodie. Assisting S.H.I.E.L.D. in various matters and earning compensation could prove to be a worthwhile option. It would also allow him to leverage their resources to discover ways to hone his abilities. Although this path carried the risk of exposing his capabilities and drawing unwanted attention, he felt compelled to prioritize his immediate goal, returning to his world, to his home. Chapter 9. Meeting Iron Man. Breaking news. New York is facing a crisis. The hostage situation has left the citizens of New York on edge. The television screen displays police officers isolating a crowd in front of a construction site. Half an hour ago, the police received a report of a girl suspended in midair inside a taxi, while the Sandman continuously obstructs the authorities' rescue efforts. The camera shifts to the Sandman, who is relentlessly lifting the car and swinging his sandy fists at the rescue personnel. The hostage is Gwen Stacy, a girl who miraculously survived a fall from the 62nd floor. Barry, upon witnessing this, turns to the woman seated beside him. Irene, I must go help. Irene nods in response, be careful. No sooner had she spoken than a gust of wind swept through. Irene whispered, you must be cautious. At that moment, the television exclaimed, look, Spider-Man has arrived. Oh, Spider-Man is going to rescue that girl. Oh my goodness. Spider-Man has been thrown away by the Sandman. As Peter was hurled away, he swiftly flipped his right hand upward, releasing a silvery web that latched onto the rebar above. He swung into the building, confronting the Sandman with a shout, get lost, freak. Meanwhile, the crowd below felt a powerful gust of wind sweep by. Before they could comprehend the situation, another wind rushed past. Suddenly, a keen observer noticed that the girl trapped in the taxi had emerged, standing right behind them alongside a man clad in a red suit. Upon closer inspection, they realized it was none other than the much-discussed Lightning Man, who had been seen with Spider-Man. He pointed and shouted, look. Barry gently set the girl down and inquired, are you all right? I'm fine, thank you. Ah, could you please help Peter? Gwen Stacy immediately responded with urgency, once she regained her composure. "Of course," Barry replied. And as soon as the words left his lips, when Stacy found herself without Barry's presence, in a flash of golden red light, Barry appeared before the Sandman and Peter, jesting, "This city is truly insane." As he spoke, the Sandman suddenly swirled and transformed, forming a colossal sandy giant that sent the onlookers fleeing in terror. Observing this transformation, Peter glanced at the empty taxi and said to Barry, "Thanks, my friend." "No need for thanks, are we not friends? Just save it." Barry responded with a slight smile, which quickly vanished as he turned serious. "Let's deal with him first." Peter nodded, but then, with a hint of frustration, asked, "But how we deal with him?" "Physical blows are ineffective." Just then, 2 missiles struck the Sandman, blasting a significant chunk off his body. The crowd below erupted in cheers. "Iron Man! Iron Man! It's Iron Man! Well done!" The red and gold figure, crafted from titanium alloy, exuded a mechanical elegance. His hands and feet blasted flames to maintain balance as he hovered before them. With his mask retracted, Tony Stark's face appeared as he addressed the two. "Gentlemen, this is quite the spectacle. Mind if I join in, Mr. Barry and Mr. Peter?" Barry and Peter exchanged glances. Peter spoke first. "Mr. Tony Stark, how do you know our names?" Oh, don't be surprised. It was Nick Fury who informed me." Tony replied as he descended. "Are you also with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Barry inquired. "After hearing this point, one could say that I serve as a technical consultant for S.H.I.E.L.D. Tony smiled. "Oh, I see." Barry nodded in understanding. "By the way, that guy over there Nick Fury mentioned, he wanted to have a word with him." Tony pointed at the Sandman, who was roaring and glaring at Peter, considering the fact that his girlfriend was at the center of this incident. Naturally, he needed to inquire about his opinion. Peter, filled with excitement, exclaimed, "Why? Well, who knows what that guy is thinking? Don't ask me. I'm merely the messenger." Tony raised an eyebrow nonchalantly. "Let's hold off on that for now, shall we?" Barry said, noticing the Sandman swinging his fists toward them. Bang! The floor cracked. "Let me show you my prowess," Tony declared, dodging the punch while raising his right arm, from which a small anti-armor missile was launched. Boom! A tremendous explosion echoed, leaving the Sandman's chest pockmarked. Then it transformed into a fiery solid, gradually solidifying. Soon, the Sandman's massive form collapsed with a thunderous crash, eliciting cheers from the onlookers. However, a cloud of sand began to flow into an unoccupied area. After waiting for a considerable time, there was still no sign of movement from the sand below. Tony instructed his intelligent assistant, JRVS, scan the situation beneath the sand pile. "Sir, there are no energy fluctuations detected in the sand pile below," JRVS responded. Tony remarked, "What? Is it that fragile?" He then approached Barry and Peter. "With the situation resolved, I must take my leave. Oh, by the way, here is my contact information. I'm hosting a gathering this weekend, and I sincerely invite you both to attend. Will you come?" After receiving their response, Tony soared into the sky. Chapter 10, The Banquet. Barry and Peter exchanged a few words before parting ways. The following day, major newspapers and television news outlets, as expected, reported on the events of the previous night. Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Barry received considerable attention. New Yorkers were particularly curious about Barry's identity. While he did not appear as frequently as Spider-Man or have a universal recognition of Iron Man, the circumstances surrounding his appearances garnered significant media coverage. Some individuals became intensely interested in the true identities of Spider-Man and Barry, hoping that he would, like Iron Man, publicly reveal his identity. Various calls for heroes to step forward began to surface in media publications. Additionally, some expressed heightened interest in Barry's abilities. Naturally, these events contributed to a shifting public perception regarding mutants. Nevertheless, these matters had no impact on our three protagonists involved in the incident. Our beloved Spider-Man continues to be an active presence in the heart of New York City. The citizens still catch glimpses of him leaping across rooftops and gliding through the streets. Many New Yorkers take the initiative to greet Spider-Man, and in most instances, Peter responds with cheerful enthusiasm. Meanwhile, Iron Man remains under the spotlight, frequently seen attending various parties in his metallic suit, effortlessly charming the ladies and flaunting his audacious confidence and pride. Unchanged from his previous self. As for our other protagonist, Barry, he finds himself in a state of distress, though not due to a quest for fame. His troubles stem from his employment situation. His pride prevents him from continuing to be financially supported by Eileen, and during his last heroic endeavor, he experienced another disorienting episode. Thus, he is now seeking employment. One might wonder why job hunting would be a source of anguish for him. The answer lies in his lack of identification, personal records, and formal education who would hire someone like him. Consequently, he reaches out to the enchanting Miss Natasha. Hello, Miss Natasha. Hello, Mr. Barry. What can I do for you? Oh, I was hoping you could assist me with obtaining some documents. After ending the call, Barry rubbed his temples and sighed, realizing that his predicament of not belonging to this world would likely be deduced by others. However, there's little he can do without a job. He has no income, and resorting to theft is out of the question in this country that values wealth above all else. On Saturday night, Barry and Eileen drove to a parking lot brimming with an array of luxury vehicles. Eileen, adorned in a black Gothic gown with cascading layers of lace, exuded an alluring elegance. Her delicate, heart-shaped face framed by golden curls and her subtly upturned crimson lips rendered her exceptionally beautiful and radiant as she linked arms with Barry, heading toward the venue. After a brief stroll, they arrived at the bustling entrance of Stark Tower. Numerous tall and sturdy security personnel in black uniforms maintained order, intercepting journalists armed with cameras, their flashes creating a dazzling display. Upon entering the banquet hall, they were greeted by a lavish setting filled with vibrant floral arrangements and glittering lights, where a diverse array of guests mingled, all elegantly dressed. A central fountain added to the opulence, and a cornucopia of fine wines and delicacies awaited the attendees, who were predominantly elites from the political and business realms. With servers deftly navigating the crowd, Barry and Eileen graciously accepted the champagne offered by a server and, observing the throngs of conversing guests, retreated to a quieter corner. At that moment, Tony approached, champagne in hand. Hey, Barry, you made it? Yes, Mr. Stark. Come now. Let's drop the formalities, shall we? Just call me Tony. By the way, would you care to introduce me to the stunning beauty by your side? Tony smiled at Eileen. All right, this is Eileen. As for this gentleman, I believe no introduction is necessary. Of course, Barry. The illustrious Mr. Tony Stark is a name known far and wide. Greetings, Mr. Stark. Hello, Miss Aaron. It is a pleasure to meet such a stunningly beautiful lady. Tony and Aaron exchanged a gentle handshake. By the way, has Peter not yet arrived? Barry inquired of Tony. Not yet, Tony shrugged in response. At that moment, Peter and Gwen Stacy finally made their entrance. Upon spotting Tony, Peter's eyes lit up as he approached with Gwen by his side. Peter, you finally made it. I was just mentioning you to Barry, Tony remarked, noticing Peter and his charming girlfriend. As Peter and Gwen arrived, they introduced themselves and familiarized with one another. Once everyone grasped Barry and Peter's concealed identities, Gwen earnestly expressed her gratitude towards Barry. They quickly grew comfortable with one another. Chapter 11, Dr. Lizard. The television broadcasted a discussion in the National Senate regarding the Mutant Registration Act. As Senator Kelly advocated for the Mutant Registration Act, he painted a vivid picture of our battle against mutants, depicting how mutants would compete with ordinary individuals for resources, positions, partners, and overall survival. This fear, targeting mutants, planted the seeds of animosity within the hearts of the populace. Mutants possess a myriad of superpowers. In truth, it is this very notion that fuels the ordinary person's fear. They are unsettled by the control and destructive capabilities that mutants wield. To the average individual, the extreme otherness of mutants and their competition for resources relegates this group to a status of low familiarity. With exceptional abilities yet low relatability, mutants are perceived as privileged outsiders, evoking a unique emotion, envy and resentment. Nevertheless, for Barry, this matter held little significance for the time being. He maintained a neutral stance, neither supporting nor opposing the issue. In his world, there were indeed those with superpowers who committed malevolent acts. Yet there were also those who utilized their abilities for good. Thus, he found himself uncertain on how to approach this matter. After obtaining the necessary information from Natasha, he embarked on a quest for employment. He sought a position in the Criminal Investigation Department at the police station akin to his previous world. The outcome was favorable. He became a member of the crime scene investigation team at the Manhattan Police Department. The Williamsburg Bridge, a suspension bridge spanning the East River in New York City, connects Manhattan's Lower East Side with Brooklyn's Williamsburg. At this moment, the Williamsburg Bridge was engulfed in traffic. Under the veil of night, the vehicles were at a standstill. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, screams erupted, prompting many to exit their vehicles to observe the commotion, only to witness an increasing number of terrified individuals fleeing. Forward, many began to run with the tide of panic. A ferocious and enigmatic creature rampaged through the streets, violently striking vehicles as if in search of something elusive. Its colossal form stood upright, a tail thrashing wildly behind it, green scales enveloping its body, resembling a massive lizard. Perhaps driven by its futile quest, it erupted in fury, hurling cars into the abyss below the bridge. Yet, miraculously, none of the discarded vehicles plummeted into the river. They were all ensnared by Spider-Man's webbing, secured to the railings of the bridge. At that moment, a father cried out in desperation. His child remained trapped inside one of the vehicles. Perhaps the lizard man recognized Spider-Man's prowess or harbored other concerns, for it seized the opportunity to flee while Peter was engaged in his rescue. Barry's phone vibrated, displaying Peter's name on the screen. "Hello, Peter," Barry answered. "Hey, Barry. I need your assistance," Peter exclaimed. Barry dashed to Peter, who had already donned his iconic suit. "Professor Kurt Connors specializes in cross-species genetics, enabling human limb regeneration. Due to the equation I provided, he has transformed into the Lizard Man. Now, he intends to launch a genetic mutation serum from the rooftop of Oscorp Tower, aiming to turn all New Yorkers into creatures like him. Gwen is currently concocting an antidote at Oscorp, and I need you to help me stop him, Barry," Peter explained urgently. "Understood, Peter," Barry replied, and in an instant, the two vanished. Meanwhile, the lizard doctor was spreading the biological serum in the streets, inciting chaos and spawning more of his kind. Authorities and military forces were evacuating civilians in response. Many witnesses reported a streak of crimson and gold light flashing by, accompanied by a gust of wind. At home, Eileen watched the news report with growing concern. "We have just received breaking news. The NYPD has ordered the evacuation of all civilians south of 54th Street. If you are in that area, please evacuate immediately." At that moment, Barry and Peter arrived at Oscorp Tower, locating Gwen, who was clutching the antidote, and urged her to leave. They ascended to the rooftop where the Chitauri device was situated. The lizard doctor was busy loading the biological serum into the launch apparatus, which ominously announced, "Chitauri device initializing 2-minute countdown." "Barry, secure the antidote while I confront him," Peter instructed, handing the antidote to Barry. Utilizing his web-slinging abilities, Peter propelled himself onto a towering steel beam, swinging around to deliver a powerful kick that sent the lizard man sprawling. As Peter held the lizard man at bay, Barry raced to the Chitauri device and positioned the antidote. After placing the antidote, Barry noticed Peter struggling against the lizard man and rushed to his aid. Chapter 12. Charles. As Peter leapt to evade the lizard man's assault, he inadvertently found himself ensnared by the creature's grip. With a forceful throw, he was cast aside. Meanwhile, Barry capitalized on his remarkable speed, darting about like an assassin, occasionally rushing towards the lizard man to land a few strikes before retreating once more, embodying the guerrilla spirit of attack and retreat. This approach infuriated the lizard man, who found himself unable to retaliate or defend effectively, especially with Peter intermittently disrupting him with strands of webbing. Spotting several sealed canisters nearby, the lizard man seized one and hurled it at Peter. Barry swiftly intervened, diverting Peter out of harm's way just as the canister shattered upon impact, revealing its contents of liquid nitrogen. As the nitrogen wafted into the air, Barry twirled his hands, conjuring 2 swirling vortices that dispersed the gas. Observing a pool of liquid nitrogen behind the lizard man, Peter swiftly severed the connecting pipes leading to the canister and directed the flow towards the creature. The liquid nitrogen reacted violently, providing Barry the opportunity to shove the lizard man into the pool. Following this, Peter discarded the severed pipe into the pool as well. The countdown from the Chitauri device dwindled ominously. The lizard man erupted from the pool, only to be ensnared by Peter's webbing. Barry resumed his harassment tactics, and in this fraught moment, the countdown finally reached 0. With a resounding thud, the Chitauri device released the antidote. A blue shockwave radiated from the Osborne Industrial Building, spreading across New York City. The sky was adorned with cascading blue luminescent droplets, reminiscent of a gentle rain. No. The lizard man cried out in despair, collapsing to the ground, his murky eyes shedding tears. Gradually, the verdant scales that adorned his body began to shed, restoring his human visage. Witnessing Professor Kurt Connors raise his right hand, his expression one of profound sorrow, both Barry and Peter felt a pang of sympathy. New York City now enveloped in an eerie calm. Clearly, the misty antidote released from the building has neutralized the biochemical toxin, allowing the residents of Lower Manhattan to breathe a sigh of relief. The mastermind behind this horrific scheme, Dr. Kurt Connors, has been apprehended, as reported live from Lower Manhattan by John Niles. "Thank you, Barry." "Don't mention it, Peter." "And oh, really, if it weren't for you, this could have turned into a catastrophe." Just imagine if everyone in New York had transformed into lizard men. Oh my, the mere thought is terrifying. All right, Peter. There's no need to worry now. You ought to express your gratitude to your girlfriend as well without her antidote. The scenario you just envisioned would have materialized. Indeed, now off you go. I must take my leave, Barry stated, promptly darting away. Recently, Osborne Industries had garnered significant notoriety. First, due to the Lizard Man incident involving Dr. Kurt Connors, and then the passing of Norman Osborn, the chairman of the company, who bequeathed the $200 billion enterprise to a 20-year-old, Harry Osborn, stirring considerable controversy. That moment, Barry encountered an elderly man named Charles Xavier, who introduced himself as Professor X, seated in a wheelchair. Accompanying him was a striking woman with silver hair clad in a black leather outfit, named Aurora, who referred to herself as Storm. She claimed to be searching specifically for him. Mr. Barry, I inquire your thoughts on mutants? Charles Xavier gently addressed the young man in his 20s seated before him. I apologize, Mr. Xavier. I have no particular opinion on mutants. I neither admire nor despise them. After all, I possess little understanding of them, Barry replied, gazing at the elderly gentleman in the wheelchair. Oh, Mr. Barry, within mutants resides the X gene. This gene is recessive, and in most instances, its carriers resemble ordinary individuals. However, throughout the course of evolutionary history, a fraction of these carriers experience mutations in their X gene, endowing them with extraordinary abilities. Those who acquire such powers through mutation are referred to as mutants. Due to the recessive nature of the X gene, historically, only a minuscule number of individuals exhibited mutations. This paradigm shifted in the 20th century as advancements in technology, including frequent nuclear tests and biochemical equipment, led to a remarkable increase in the number of mutants. Incomplete statistics suggest that, to date, the likelihood of a mutant appearing on Earth stands at 1 in 10,000 to 25,000, with an estimated global population of approximately 250,000 to 500,000 mutants, around 20,000 of whom reside in the United States. Charles Xavier elaborated slowly. I am unsure, Mr. Xavier, why you're sharing this with me. Barry expressed his confusion. Mr. Barry, I suspect you are indeed a mutatus swift individual awakened by the X gene. One of our own. Charles Xavier smiled, extending his hand in camaraderie with Aurora. I'm afraid you are mistaken, Mr. Xavier. I'm not a mutant. If what you refer to as my ability stems from an awakened X gene, I must disappoint you. My power is merely a coincidence. I acquired it through an electric shock. Barry raised his hands in resignation. Chapter 13, Congress. Charles Xavier chuckled softly. In truth, among ordinary people, you are extraordinary, a superpowered being. Whether or not you are a mutant has become inconsequential, for they will fear you, envy you, and be intimidated by you. Though you may currently be seen as a hero in their eyes, they will harbor malice in their scrutiny of you. Barry fell silent, contemplating. Indeed, he could not refute Charles Xavier's assertions. Mr. Barry, I have come to see you today for two primary reasons. The first is to forge a friendship, and the second is to ascertain whether you are a mutant. However, since you deny being one, I choose to believe you. Nonetheless, we can still be friends, can we not? Charles Xavier smiled warmly. Indeed, Mr. Xavier, I will be pleased to be your friend. Barry responded earnestly, finally grasping the situation. Here is my contact information. Charles Xavier handed Barry a business card. Barry received it. He looked at the card with a hint of perplexity and read aloud, Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters. Indeed, Mr. Barry. This institution is one I established as a sanctuary for marginalized mutants, teaching these young individuals how to harness their abilities and coexist peacefully with humanity. Charles Xavier remarked with a faint smile. Upon hearing this, Barry immediately felt a deep respect. His encounters with the mutants, particularly Charles Xavier, have significantly altered his perception of them, leaving a positive impression in his heart. In truth, Barry remained quite curious. He was aware of the existence of mutants, but was genuinely unfamiliar with the spectrum of their abilities. The enchanting Ellis Island in New York, under the night sky adorned with twinkling stars, was bustling with activity. The island, though modest in size, was alive with the fervor of the United Nations Summit, where a sensitive discussion regarding the Mutant Registration Act was poised to take place. This unprecedented gathering saw the highest number of participating nations in history, with over 200 heads of state and dignitaries convening. A cacophony of languages intertwined as reporters of various backgrounds wielded their cameras, vying for interviews with the leaders of nations they found intriguing. Camera operators scurried about in search of optimal shooting angles, while photographers clicked away incessantly, their flashes flickering like fireflies in the night. Amidst the crowd, many were engaged in discussions about Senator Kelly, a staunch advocate for the Mutant Registration Act and the candidate most likely to emerge victorious in the presidential race. The imminent start of the summit, coupled with his conspicuous absence, raised eyebrows and sparked curiosity. Surrounding the island was a formidable military presence, with warships deployed for both security and deterrence. At Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, the demise of Senator Kelly weighed heavily on Professor X, who sensed the gravity of the situation. Should Magneto's nefarious plot come to fruition, it could ignite a catastrophic conflict between mutants and humans, potentially leading to a third world war. Professor X regarded the four individuals before him: Cyclopes, Storm, Wolverine, and Jean Grey with a grave expression and a somber tone. Magneto has discovered a means to trigger this gene mutation, but this is a grave error. You have all witnessed the fate of Senator Kelly. We must thwart him and retrieve the rogue mutant. The responsibility now lies with the four of you. With a rumbling sound, the basketball court of Xavier's School slowly parted to reveal a fighter jet ascending into the night sky. The students, startled by the commotion, gazed in awe at the unfolding spectacle. As Professor X watched the aircraft depart, he contemplated for a moment before seizing the phone to dial Barry's number. "Good evening, Mr. Barry. This is Professor X. I sincerely apologize for disturbing you at this late hour." "Hello, Professor X. I wasn't expecting a call from you at such an hour. Is there something urgent you wish to discuss?" "Indeed, Mr. Barry. Magneto has discovered a method to induce gene mutations. But this technique is fundamentally flawed and could result in fatalities. He is poised to execute his insidious plan atop the Statue of Liberty, attempting to transform the world leaders into mutants during the New York summit. I have dispatched our agents to thwart him, yet I fear they may falter, leading to an irrevocable catastrophe. Thus, I implore you to assist. Professor X, how am I to reach Liberty Island? You are aware that the seas are teeming with warships. If I were to run across the water, the splashes would surely betray my presence." "Ah, Mr. Barry, it seems I have overlooked this detail, that I hope you can make your way to Ellis Island and, should the situation become dire, provide aid to the world leaders in their escape." "Very well, Professor X." Chapter 14. Developments. The Statue of Liberty, a symbol of historical significance, embodies one of the spirits of our nation, expressing the noble ideals of the American people's quest for democracy and freedom. At the forefront of the venue, the Secretary of State stands at the podium, passionately delivering a welcome address. Unbeknownst to him, a tumultuous conflict is unfolding within the statue itself. As he approaches the conclusion of his remarks, applause erupts from the seated dignitaries and leaders. Fireworks burst forth in the sky, captivating the audience's gaze. However, within the next moment, astonishment spreads across their faces as they behold the distant Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island, its torch of freedom emanating a soft azure glow, gradually expanding and radiating outward. At this moment, Barry has just arrived on the island, hesitating whether to venture closer to the Statue of Liberty, yet apprehensive that it might prove futile. The scene evokes memories of the catastrophic explosion at the particle accelerator in the cutting-edge technology laboratory. As he observes the azure luminescence spreading towards Ellis Island, he rushes to the podium, pushing aside the Secretary of State, and urgently announces into the microphone, "An emergency situation has arisen. I implore everyone to evacuate in an orderly manner." His words resonate, prompting chaos among the seated leaders and journalists. Barry, witnessing the turmoil, shouts, "Stay calm, everyone. Please follow the security personnel and evacuate in an orderly fashion. Once more, I urge you to follow the security personnel and evacuate in an orderly manner." As the unsettling azure glow draws ever closer to Ellis Island, even those still evacuating begin to feel a sense of panic. At that moment, a golden red light darts back and forth across the bridge, and the number of people on the island diminishes. When the blue glow reaches the island, it finds itself utterly deserted. As the azure luminescence engulfs half of the island, it suddenly fades away. The moment the light disappears entirely, military personnel swiftly deploy several warships and helicopters to investigate the situation on Liberty Island. The military and political factions of the United States are incensed, as such an incident at a summit tarnishes their global reputation. A half hour later, the information presented to them incites both shock and fury. The leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants, Magneto, also known as Eric Lensher, who possesses numerous aliases, harbors the audacious intent to transform world leaders into mutants, an unforgivable ambition. However, due to the steadfast arguments put forth by Professor X, combined with the fact that Magneto has been apprehended and demands to be imprisoned rather than killed. Considerations for the Brotherhood of Mutants complicate matters, leaving military and political leaders feeling quite vexed. With the occurrence of such an event, the United Nations summit concludes rather anticlimactically. Leaders from various nations harbor various concerns, leading to the eventual abandonment of the Mutant Registration Act. After all, the proponent and staunch advocate of the act, Senator Kelly, has perished. What more is there to discuss? These leaders are, after all, quite protective of their own lives. Nevertheless, Barry's heroic intervention has brought him into the limelight. The title of the Flash has spread far and wide, garnering more attention than that of Iron Man or Spider-Man. After all, at the United Nations Summit, over 200 heads of state and dignitaries owe him a debt of gratitude. Those familiar with the situation regard him with goodwill, knowing he aided the professor, while those less informed are simply aware that he saved lives. Moreover, he garnered fame before the global media, making it impossible for even the most determined individuals to downplay his achievements. Under such circumstances, it is difficult for Barry not to gain recognition. Conversely, our war police's significant contributions have been minimized amidst various situations, demands, and compromises, resulting in little news being disseminated. All specific details have been sealed away. Nevertheless, this has served as a wake-up call for nations worldwide, prompting them to once again recruit superhumans and mutants following the Second World War. The status of mutants has improved across countries, yet this has led many organizations to aggressively capture mutants for research, intensifying their resentment. Overall, the repercussions of this matter are indeed mixed. In light of these developments, our SHIELD director, Nick Fury, seizes the opportunity to propose a superhero initiative listing potential recruits. This proposal has stirred considerable upheaval among the U.S. elite. The International Security Council harbors various concerns regarding this matter. The existence of a Hulk has already caused considerable headaches. The thought of him losing control raises alarm. The mention of Captain America, Steve Rogers, evokes records from 70 years ago, sparking keen interest in his whereabouts. Upon learning he is entombed in Arctic ice, there is support for Nick Fury to dispatch a team for his rescue, seemingly indicating approval for Captain America's inclusion. Tony Stark's arrogance also raises apprehensions. As for Spider-Man, Peter Parker maintains a solid reputation among the general populace. Meanwhile, the recently celebrated Flash, Barry Allen, has become a darling of nations, leaving little reason for dissent. Wouldn't you agree? Chapter 15. Ivan Vanko Monaco, a city-state located in the southwestern part of Europe, is the second smallest country in the world, spanning an area of 198 square kilometers. Today, Monaco is hosting the prestigious Monaco Grand Prix, which, apart from the race itself, serves as a social gala for the wealthy elite. Here, one can spot both the adventurous prince and the true prince. The world's wealthiest car enthusiasts arrive by yacht to witness the most extravagant car race on the planet. Renowned racing teams, manufacturers, and sponsors converge in Monaco, with the principality's head of state present and celebrities vying for attention. The streets of Monaco transform into an open-air auto exhibition, while the Mediterranean's most opulent yachts crowd the harbor like inexpensive sardines. During the 4 days of May each year, car aficionados flood into Monaco, eager to secure a vantage point. Even 6 months in advance, various viewing stands along the Monte Carlo circuit are fully booked. Streets, hilltops, office buildings, and restaurants are packed with tens of thousands of fans who leave no location near the track unvisited. In contrast, local residents reap the benefits of their advantageous location. In the residential buildings lining the streets of Monte Carlo, individuals comfortably settled on their balconies, enjoying a prime view of the race. The atmosphere around the racetrack was electric with fervent cheers from the crowd. Barry, having taken a leave from work at Tony's generous invitation, had brought along Eileen. Seated beside Eileen were Pepper Potts, the current executive at Stark Industries, and Harold Happy Hogan, Tony's bodyguard and chauffeur. Although Tony had initially invited Peter and his girlfriend Gwen to join, they had declined due to their impending graduation. Barry's attention was drawn to Justin Hammer, a billionaire arms manufacturer and Tony's business rival, as he was being interviewed by reporters. The mutual disdain between Tony and Hammer was palpable, and their recent exchange of barbs left Barry astounded by Tony's sharp tongue. Meanwhile, Pepper's emotions were in turmoil as she anxiously worried about Tony participating in such a perilous race, especially since he had kept this dangerous endeavor from her. The Monte Carlo circuit, renowned as one of the most famous and challenging tracks in the world, filled Pepper with trepidation, leading her to fervently pray for Tony's safety. The racing cars sped down the track at a staggering pace of 700 miles per hour, and Tony was entirely absorbed in the exhilarating rush. Having succumbed to the depths of palladium poisoning, He sought solace in reckless abandon, yearning to escape the specter of death through adrenaline-laden thrills. At that moment, a figure clad in a work uniform pushed open the barrier gate, a toothpick perched in his mouth. He sauntered into the center, discarding his uniform to reveal a rudimentary mechanical suit. The arc reactor within his chest glowed with a bright white light, and as he flexed his hands, two electrified whips lashed out, carving deep gashes into the racetrack. As a speeding car approached, seemingly on a collision course with him, he smirked disdainfully and swung his whip, cleaving the vehicle in two, which then tumbled several meters away. The unfolding chaos was broadcast on screens, inciting shrieks from the audience. Pepper, now standing in alarm, instructed Hogan to retrieve Tony's portable armor. Upon hearing her, Barry hastily followed Hogan, parting ways midway to find a secluded area where he could don his uniform. In an instant, he reached the car just as Hogan grasped a red briefcase. Meanwhile, the individual on the racetrack, having dispatched several cars with his whips, spotted his target, Tony Stark, with whom he harbored a personal vendetta. Tony, unable to brake in time, barreled forward, only to witness the assailant lash a glowing whip against his vehicle. In an instant, the car began to roll uncontrollably. Fortunately, when the vehicle finally came to a halt, Tony emerged unscathed. Regaining his composure, he pushed against the ground, slowly maneuvering out of the wreckage. Upon standing, he looked up to see the whip-wielding figure approaching him, instantly recognizing the threat that loomed ahead. The explosion caused by the collision of the pursuing race cars accentuated the figure wielding dual whips, whose disdainful expression was vividly captured on screen, evoking an overwhelming sense of shock. He approached Tony's vehicle, brandishing his whips towards the driver's seat, only to find it split in two, devoid of Tony's presence, raising an eyebrow in puzzlement. Meanwhile, Tony emerged from behind, wielding a steel plate he had retrieved from the car, striking Ivan Vanko forcefully, causing him to stagger. In retaliation, Ivan turned and knocked the steel plate from Tony's grasp, then unleashed a flurry of lashes in Tony's direction, forcing him into a frantic evasion. At that moment, Barry arrived, shoving Ivan against the guardrail. Barry then handed Tony a red briefcase, and without hesitation, Tony swiftly transformed into Iron Man. Recognizing the futility of vengeance, Ivan Vanko's resolve crumbled. Yet he remained unwilling to accept defeat. After enduring another blow, he was taken away, and Tony, with a grim expression, crushed the arc reactor in his hand after instructing Jarvis to analyze it. Chapter 16, Palladium poisoning. The incident unfolded live before the public eye, and the following day's newspapers reported on Iron Man's confrontation with his steadfast ally, the Flash, who had made an appearance in Monaco. That evening, after escorting Barry and the visibly troubled Pepper back to their hotel, Tony, with a serious demeanor, visited the Monaco prison where Ivan Vanko was held. Listening impassively as the officials recounted their findings. "We checked his fingerprints. There's nothing, not even a name," one official stated. "Where do we go from here?" Tony interjected. "We're not even certain he speaks English. He hasn't uttered a word." The official gestured down the corridor. Following this conversation, Tony exited the cell with a troubled expression. On the flight to New York, the television screen displayed a statement from the Department of Defense, asserting that his technology had been replicated while he remained obliviously chaotic. "He treats Iron Man like a toy," Mr. Stark firmly stated at the hearing. "The iron armor will not appear anywhere, at least not in the next 5 to 10 years. Yet, we witnessed it in Monaco." Pepper sat fuming in her seat, while Barry and Eileen engaged in hushed conversation in another cabin, punctuated by Emma's occasional laughter. Frustrated by the news, Tony turned off the television while carrying a tray of food, then approached Pepper to present the meal he had prepared. Upon seeing the unappetizing dish, Pepper was taken aback but surprisingly calmed upon realizing it was Tony's creation. "Well, I suppose it's easy to appease Pepper." At Tony's villa, a celebration was underway for his birthday, with many guests in attendance, including Peter and Barry. However, the evening spiraled out of control, culminating in a drunken brawl between Tony and his friend Colonel Rhodes, both clad in their armored suits. Consequently, Pepper was infuriated, leading to dire repercussions for Tony. Barry and Peter joined Tony on the rooftop, sipping wine. Under their persistent inquiries, Tony revealed that he was poisoned. "What? Tony, you've been poisoned?" Peter exclaimed in shock, leaping to his feet. "What happened?" Barry asked, equally astonished. "Yes, palladium poisoning," Tony confessed to Barry and Peter, as he felt no conflict of interest with them and found them to be trustworthy individuals. Additionally, expressing his predicament made him feel somewhat relieved. "What happened?" Peter quickly inquired. "There are shrapnel fragments in my heart. I must use a palladium arc reactor to sustain my life. However, I cannot find a substitute element," Tony said helplessly. "No wonder you've been acting so strangely lately. Is there no way to alleviate it?" Does Pepper know? Barry asked, furrowing his brow. I can't bear to tell her. I fear it would only worry her. She is already under enough stress. Tony shook his head. Let us brainstorm together. Don't lose hope. Peter reassured him. Promise me. Do not tell Pepper. Tony solemnly urged Barry and Peter. At that moment, Tony, clad in his Mark IV armor, was perched atop a donut shop, indulging in sweet treats. Sir, please step down from the donuts. Nick Fury, in his usual attire, stood, arms crossed, eyeing the leisurely donut-eating Tony. Upon hearing this, Tony adjusted his sunglasses, glanced at Nick Fury, and tossed the box aside, following him into the shop to sit face to face. Tony, I want you to join my superhero initiative, Nick Fury stated, gazing intently at him. I have no desire to join your Boy Scout troop. Tony replied nonchalantly, resting his head on his hand. Nick Fury chuckled upon hearing this, then revealed that he was aware of Tony's condition and provided him with lithium carbonate to alleviate his poisoning symptoms. Subsequently, they arrived at Tony's villa, where Nick Fury disclosed that Tony's father, Howard Stark, was one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. He mentioned that Tony's father had long ago conquered the technological challenges of the arc reactor and remarked that the arc reactor merely served as a springboard for even greater technologies. Nick Fury presented Tony with notes and video recordings left by Howard Stark, encouraging him to unravel the mysteries himself. As Tony sorted through the materials left by his father, the video played, revealing his father's heartfelt words to him. Understanding that his father loved him dissipated Tony's lingering resentment. Tony prepared to apologize to Pepper at Stark Industries. Yet due to the events at the birthday party, Pepper was exceedingly upset, speaking to Tony with a chilling tone and sharp words. This left Tony in a state of turmoil. However, he soon discovered a model left by his father, unveiling its secrets. Chapter 17. On Love. Barry was currently troubled. Why? Because Erin had confessed her feelings to him. A couple of days ago, after learning about Tony's situation, he had sought assistance from S.H.I.E.L.D., leading to his first encounter with director Nick Fury. After being reassured that there was no need to worry about Tony, he expressed that he would consider joining the superhero initiative proposed by Nick Fury. Moreover, after contemplating Nick Fury's proposal for enhancing his abilities through training, he acquiesced. Additionally, it was conveyed that the United Nations decided to award him for his performance at the summit. However, all of this pales in comparison to the moment when Eileen unexpectedly professed her feelings for him. Truthfully, to be in the constant presence of a beautiful woman who lavishes such attention upon you makes it impossible to remain indifferent. Yet, Barry maintained his composure, for he was acutely aware that his time in this world was uncertain, and he feared he might betray Eileen's affections. Before him stood Eileen, her golden hair cascading over her shoulders, each strand exuding a tantalizing allure. Her thick lashes framed captivating eyes, her lips painted in vibrant hues, and her cheeks flushed with a delicate blush, all revealing a multitude of enchanting charms. As her lips drew ever closer to his, the dawn broke, and Barry gently opened his eyes to behold Eileen nestled in his embrace, her sweet smile illuminating the morning. He held her tenderly as she slowly awoke and returned his smile. That evening, at the exhibition hosted by Hammer Industries, prominent military and political figures gathered, along with a multitude of media representatives, creating an electric atmosphere. Justin Hammer showcased his Iron Legion, which initially captivated the audience. However, with Tony's arrival, the entire Iron Legion turned its fire upon him, for Tony had discovered Ivan Vanko's nefarious plot shortly after developing a new element and rushed to intervene. The Iron Legion was entirely under Vanko's control. Tony's friend, Colonel Rhodes, donned in his Iron Man suit, also joined in the assault on Tony. After a series of events, Natasha, the agent, managed to free Colonel Rhodes from Vanko's control, leading to a united front where Tony and Rhodes ultimately defeated Vanko. In the aftermath, Nick Fury coordinated the proceedings and decided to honor Barry, Tony, and Colonel Rhodes with medals. Of course, Barry remained in his uniform. Choosing not to reveal his true identity before the media, he requested that his medal be placed in a box rather than worn upon his chest. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. underground base, Barry and Peter engaged in rigorous training, following an extensive regimen devised by Nick Fury. This included endurance training, explosive power exercises, and combat techniques. Peter focused on honing his evasive skills within a confined space. Despite his spider sense, he found himself struggling against multiple, erratic attacks without the ability to retaliate, leaving him in a state of disarray. Nick Fury explained that the aim was to enable him to respond swiftly and directly to threats. Meanwhile, Barry practiced hand-to-hand combat, striving to incapacitate or subdue his opponent with speed, precision, and efficacy, all without utilizing his powers. though lethal force was strictly prohibited during training. At that moment, Agent Coulson found himself amidst a pristine winter landscape, where snowflakes drifted gracefully from the sky, resembling reeds, willow fluff, and soft, downy feathers, falling endlessly. As the biting wind blew, the warm breath escaping his mouth and nostrils crystallized into delicate frost flowers, encasing his cap in a shimmering layer, reminiscent of a silver helmet adorning his reddened face. He and the personnel from S.H.I.E.L.D. had been here for over half a month. Just moments ago, the technicians reported they had located the precise whereabouts of Captain America. This revelation filled him with exhilaration. He had idolized Captain America since childhood. The thought of finally finding his revered hero ignited a fervor within him. According to the technicians' investigations, they had discovered the aircraft that went missing alongside Captain America years ago and were preparing to commence the excavation. At this moment, Coulson, with a hint of urgency in his voice, spoke into the phone. "Director, we have pinpointed the location of Steve Rogers' downed aircraft." "Oh, Coulson. Ensure that the medical team exercises utmost caution," Nick Fury responded with a grave tone. "Yes, you can count on it. After all, he is my hero," Coulson replied. Just don't faint when you meet the real deal. I don't want to hear reports of you in the hospital," Nick Fury teased. Coulson chuckled in response. "Director, that won't happen. My mental fortitude is quite strong." Chapter 18. Abomination. Oh my goodness. What is that monstrous creature? The television news broadcast displayed a colossal beast. Its body a sickly yellow, with grotesque spikes protruding from its back, wreaking havoc on the streets and causing widespread destruction and casualties. Tonight, a creature has emerged at the intersection of Broadway. It is attacking the crowd. Oh my heavens. The military has swiftly deployed personnel to engage the monster. But to no avail. The police are evacuating the populace. We urge those near Broadway to heed this news and evacuate immediately. Oh look, Spider-Man has arrived. Goodness. Spider-Man has been thrown away. The television footage captured Spider-Man being struck by the beast with a merciless blow, sending his slender figure flying off-screen, leaving only the echo of a heavy impact resonating through the television. Barry, witnessing the scene, kissed Eileen and declared, "I'm going to help." Eileen tenderly caressed Barry's face, saying, "Be careful." "Peter, are you all right?" Barry asked, supporting the disheveled Peter who had just arrived at the scene. "What do you think? You should try to take a hit from it. I feel like all my bones are about to break." Peter retorted irritably. "All right, you evacuate the crowd. I'll handle it." With that, he charged toward the abomination. "Coward. If you have the guts, don't run. Let us have a proper fight." Enraged by Barry's speed, the abomination hurled vehicles in his direction. Above, on a military helicopter, an intense scene unfolded. Bruce Banner implored General Ross, who had just ordered nearby military support. "Let me go? You must allow me to intervene. They can't handle it." Beside him, Betty Ross, General Ross's daughter and Bruce Banner's girlfriend, exclaimed in panic. "What are you talking about? Do you think you can control it within you?" Bruce Banner looked at Betty and replied, No, it's not about control. It's about harnessing it." General Ross bellowed. "And what if you can't?" Bruce Banner asserted, "Only I can stop it." General Ross paused momentarily before commanding, "Land nearby." Bruce Banner replied, "No need for that. Open the rear door." Despite Betty Ross attempting to stop him, Bruce passionately kissed her and declared, "I must give it a try. I'm sorry, I love you." He then turned and leaped into the air, crashing down to the ground with such force that it created a deep crater. "Oh my heavens. Not another one," Peter exclaimed. "Quick, come help me." Barry was already quite frustrated. His fists had no effect on the yellow beast. Now, another hulking green figure had arrived. Clearly, the abomination lost all interest in Barry upon spotting the Hulk. The two titans were irresistibly drawn to one another, charging forward and colliding, their hands intertwining as waves of air rippled visibly around them. Debris flew, streetlights toppled, and vehicles rolled chaotically. The scene was utterly chaotic, with two figures leaping and dodging amid the rubble, exchanging blows in a deadly struggle. Thanks to Peter's intervention, the streets were now left with only Barry, Peter, and the newly arrived Tony as spectators, alongside several helicopters hovering in the sky. Tony pointed at the giants still engaged in combat, stating, "That green one is known as the Hulk, Bruce Banner. He is a product of the Super Soldier program, transformed into a mindless giant who wreaks havoc whenever he gets angry. The military has attempted to capture him numerous times without success. Conventional weaponry has no effect. We must wait for him to regain his senses and revert to human form. The other might also be a result of military experimentation." Peter, intrigued, inquired, "The Super Soldier program? Like Captain America?" "Indeed," Tony affirmed, his pride evident. "As a former arms dealer with close ties to the military, I'm privy to such information." Plus, I recently had Jarvis infiltrate SHIELD's database to gather some intel. Whom do we assist? Barry asked slowly, recalling similar events from his own world, where he encountered a general who had resorted to extreme measures to enhance soldiers' capabilities. Tony shrugged, it's uncertain. Meanwhile, the battle between the Hulk and the Abomination escalated, with the Hulk gradually gaining the upper hand. Seizing an opportunity as the Abomination faltered, the Hulk lifted a car and began striking down upon him. The Abomination's furious roars transformed into anguished cries, which eventually diminished in intensity. Just as the Hulk continued his assault, Betty Ross approached from behind, calling out, "Stop, Bruce." The Hulk, momentarily regaining his senses, tenderly caressed Betty's face. Upon noticing the encroaching soldiers and police officers, he cast a long gaze at Betty before turning and leaping away. "Well, the Green Giant has turned shy," she remarked. Chapter 19. War approaches. Steve Rogers slowly opened his eyes and gradually rose. The sound of a radio filled the air, announcing a baseball game. As he stretched, he heard the commentator say, "It's a good pitch," and watched as Rizzo scored while Rhea sprinted towards third base. Confused, he glanced around, and at that moment, the door swung open, revealing a stunning woman in uniform. As she greeted him with a good morning, she glanced at her watch. Perhaps she should have said good afternoon. Steve Rogers, observing her uncertainty, inquired, "Where am I?" "You are in a post-operative recovery room in New York." The uniformed beauty replied with a smile. Steve Rogers paused in silence, surveying his surroundings, as the radio continued to broadcast the sounds of a match. "Where exactly am I? I do not quite comprehend your meaning." The uniformed beauty laughed softly. "This match is from May 1941. I know because I was there." Upon hearing this, Steve observed a change in her expression, and she fell silent. Rising to his feet, he approached her, reiterating, "I will ask you once more, where am I?" The uniformed beauty responded nervously. "Captain Rogers." Steve interrupted, "Who are you?" At that moment, two heavily armed individuals abruptly entered, causing Steve to become alert. Sensing something amiss, he instinctively struck them down, and, upon glimpsing the scene beyond the room, he dashed outside in a frenzy. Times Square. As Steve arrived, the sights overwhelmed him. The towering buildings, dazzling screens, and the rush of vehicles around him left him bewildered and astonished. "Soldier, don't be alarmed," a voice called out, and he turned to see a masked African-American man addressing him. Nick Fury stepped forward, saying, "Listen, I deeply apologize for that display. However, we believe it is best for you to gradually acclimate to these changes." Steve, feeling anxious, responded, "Acclimate to what?" Nick Fury calmly replied, "You have been in slumber, Captain, for approximately 70 years. You need to adapt from this moment forward. The war has begun." His serious tone echoed through the intercom, reaching Hill and Coulson, who understood the gravity of his words following the recent events. The Tesseract had been stolen, and Hawkeye had betrayed them. Meanwhile, Tony Stark was celebrating the launch of his new energy technology, the arc reactor, with Pepper Potts, when Coulson intruded upon their romantic moment. "You need to review these documents quickly," Coulson urged, handing the materials to Pepper, who then passed them to Tony. "My official consultation hours are every other week, on Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tony remarked as he perused the documents. "About the Avengers?" Pepper interjected. "I know nothing of that. Isn't the Avengers initiative terminated? Besides, I am not worthy. They deem me erratic and self-centered, lacking in team spirit," Tony replied, examining the materials closely. Ultimately, as Pepper and Tony reviewed the documents together, they realized their celebration was over. Steve Rogers was diligently practicing his punches in a boxing gym. "Can't sleep?" Nick Fury inquired. "I've slept for 70 years, sir. I believe I've had ample rest." "Then you should venture out and see the world." "Are you here to assign me a mission, sir? Do you wish for me to re-enter this world?" Nick Fury handed over the documents to Steve Rogers, with the intention of saving the world. In a bar, General Ross sat at the counter, indulging in cigars and a series of drinks. At that moment, the bar door swung open, and Tony Stark, impeccably dressed, entered. Upon spotting his target, he approached slowly. The scent of beer mingled with the taste of failure lingered in the air. "I have long warned you," he said. "The super soldier program was terminated for a reason. I have always believed hardware to be more reliable." Standing beside General Ross, Tony leaned against the bar and addressed him. General Ross turned to face Tony, recognizing who was beside him. "You always dress so sharply," he remarked with a hint of sarcasm. "Well said. I've heard you have an unusual problem." Tony replied with a smile. "I know it without you saying," Ross stated calmly. "Listen to me. We are organizing a coalition," Tony declared earnestly. Chapter 20. Endless worries. Having resigned from the police department, Barry now traveled with Aaron, the Australian sun, beaches, vast outback, lush rainforests, the breathtaking Great Barrier Reef. Unique kangaroos and koalas, the Gold Coast of Queensland, enchanting cities, a friendly and diverse society, along with a warm and inviting cultural environment, present an irresistible allure to tourists worldwide. The Great Barrier Reef boasts 400 species of living coral, with colors ranging from ordinary blues and browns to intricate, astonishing pinks and purples, a truly vibrant and magical realm. One can take a boat to Green Island for snorkeling and various activities, or enjoy semi-submersible and glass-bottom boats to admire the corals, jellyfish, and small fish. The beach was bathed in golden sunlight, gentle as the mood of the moment. Barry and Aaron walked barefoot, hand in hand, listening to the sound of waves as they strolled along the shore, allowing the cool sea water to wash over their ankles with each tide. The sand felt soft beneath their feet, and the breeze from the sea was soothing. Barry had just revealed to Aaron his deepest secret, that he was not of this world. Initially taken aback, her expression of shock and confusion quickly gave way to acceptance. She uttered a phrase that deeply moved Barry. "Wherever you go, I will follow, for I love you." "Well, I just want to say that love can be blinding," Barry mused, recounting his experiences as Aaron listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions about his relationship with another woman, asking if he had feelings for her. After spending a delightful evening at the Great Barrier Reef, Barry and Aaron ventured to Sydney, leaving their footprints at the Sydney Opera House and the Royal Botanic Garden. However, a phone call abruptly ended their trip. In the Atlantic Ocean, aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. flying aircraft carrier, Barry, dressed in uniform, had just disembarked from the plane. Noticing Coulson waving at him, he walked over with a stoic expression. "I say, if you don't give me a good reason, I'm leaving immediately," Barry remarked. Coulson, in a grave tone and serious demeanor, replied, "Let us discuss this inside." Upon entering the aircraft carrier, Barry was struck by the formidable atmosphere, with each face around him etched with solemnity. An unsettling sense of gravity enveloped the space, indicating that something significant was afoot. Guided by Coulson into a conference room, Barry was greeted by the familiar visages of his friends, Iron Man Tony and Spider-Man Peter, alongside several unfamiliar individuals who regarded him with curious eyes. To his surprise, he also spotted Sandman and the enchanting Natasha. Someone's private moment has been interrupted," Tony quipped, his eyebrows waggling in jest upon seeing Barry. "Look at those eyes beneath the mask. They seem ready to devour," he continued with a teasing tone. "I hope we're not interrupting any noble deeds. Haha. By the way, Peter, how did you manage to get corrupted so quickly after just graduating? Aren't you worried that Gwen will call her father to sort you out?" Barry, unfazed by their banter, retorted, "Peter, do you believe I 1T informed Gwen that you were peeping at someone bathing outside their window? And Tony, I could easily disrupt your romantic ambience with Pepper at any moment." "Wait, please don't. I was wrong, all right," Tony and Peter chorused in alarm. At that moment, Nick Fury entered, offering introductions. Barry became acquainted with Captain America Steve, Professor Hulk Bruce Banner, Sandman Flint Marko, and the intriguing Thor, whose divine appearance left Barry pondering the true nature of gods. Bizarre attire aside, he saw nothing particularly extraordinary. Once everyone was seated, the screen before them flickered to life, revealing a glass enclosure housing a dark-haired man. Barry felt bewildered. Was he summoned from afar merely to gaze at this stranger? Glancing around, he noticed Nick Fury had vanished, and upon opening his mouth to inquire, he found everyone intently focused on the screen, leaving him to shrug and cross his arms in resignation. "I must make this clear. Should you attempt to flee, even brushing against the glass will have consequences." Nick Fury's voice resonated from the screen, prompting Barry to lean in closer. Yet, the dark-haired man remained the sole figure in view. "All right, let us continue," the man spoke. "This cage will plummet from an altitude of 9,000 meters. Do you understand? Who is the ant, and who is the boot? This cage is quite impressive. I assume it wasn't constructed specifically for me," the dark-haired man mused. "It was built for something far more formidable than you," Fury interjected. "I have heard whispers of a mindless beast masquerading as a normal human. How desperate one must be to seek aid from such an uncontrollable monster." The dark-haired man addressed the camera, his tone dripping with disdain. "Desperate? You threaten war upon my world while stealing a power you cannot control. You preach peace, yet revel in slaughter. You have indeed driven me to despair, and you may come to regret it," he continued, his voice laced with mockery. "Oh, the fury of losing something within your grasp, the Tesseract, its power, infinite energy. What do you intend to do with it? Illuminate a beacon for all humanity, only to then showcase true power? Should you wish to witness this true power, just give a shout," he taunted, before the screen abruptly cut to black. Quite the loquacious fellow. Professor Banner adjusted his glasses, chuckling softly. Loki is stalling for time. Thor. What exactly is his plan? Steve inquired of the thunder god, Thor. He commands an army of Chitauri, who are not Asgardians but hailing from an unknown realm, and he intends to lead this force against you. They will aid him in seizing Earth. I suspect he will exchange the Tesseract for their assistance, Thor stated slowly. Hold on, I have questions. An unknown realm? What kind of realm is it? How did they arrive? Who are the Asgardians? What is this cosmic cube? And who exactly is Loki? Upon hearing unknown realm, Barry became utterly exhilarated. This news is simply remarkable. Finally, he has learned about other worlds. Naturally, his enthusiasm appeared rather peculiar to the others. The unknown realm refers to other galaxies. As for how they arrived, it must be through a portal. The Asgardians are the denizens of our divine domain. You can regard the cosmic cube as a highly advanced source of energy. And Loki is my brother, Thor replied. Other galaxies? Is there a second Earth? Or perhaps another universe? Barry continued to inquire. Yet another youth with aspirations to conquer stars and seas. The others silently mused. Indeed, there are other galaxies. There is no second Earth, but there are other planets inhabited by humans, albeit not within this galaxy. There is no second universe. Thor answered patiently. Seeing that Barry was still inclined to ask, Steve promptly interjected. Barry, you can seek Thor's wisdom later when you have the time. For now, let us focus on the matter of the Chitauri army. Barry, having opened his mouth, resignedly closed it, pouting slightly as he slowly took his seat. Professor Banner spoke. No wonder he wishes to take Eric Selvig. Thor interrupted. Selvig? Professor Banner continued. He is an astrophysicist and a friend of mine. Thor added. Loki has placed a spell on him, exerting control over him. Additionally, our agent Natasha chimed in. Why would Loki so easily surrender? He cannot command his army from here, Steve pondered. I believe we should not fixate on Loki. That fellow's thought process is quite erratic. He is clearly a madman. Professor Banner remarked thoughtfully. Mind your words. Even if Loki has lost his sanity, he remains an Asgardian and my brother. Thor retorted, visibly displeased. The conversation then shifted to Barry, Tony, Peter, and Professor Banner, who showcased their knowledge in an exchange of dialogue that left the others bewildered. Ultimately, it was Nick Fury who entered to interrupt their discussion, directing Barry, Tony, Peter, and Professor Banner to investigate the scepter. In the end, Barry approached Thor to inquire about matters he had long desired to comprehend. Chapter 21. The Nine Realms. Thor stood by a chalkboard, illustrating as he spoke. In our Asgardian education, the system of the world tree supports this world, which is divided into 9 realms. These realms are categorized into 4 systems: giants, gods, elves, and dwarves, among others. Are you saying that giants, gods, elves, and dwarves actually exist? Barry expressed his astonishment. Well, this is indeed enlightening. I shall return and share this with Eileen. Of course, I have witnessed Thor's pride in this matter. The realm in the center is Midgard, also known as Earth, the dwelling place of humanity. Here exists a tricolored rainbow bridge composed of ice, fire, and air, which leads to the realm of the gods. Above Midgard are 3 worlds, with the central one being Asgard, the divine realm where my kin reside. The grandest castle there is the palace of my father, Odin. To the left lies Vanaheim, the abode of the Vanir gods, who govern the procreation and sustenance of all things between heaven and earth, including the oceans and winds. This divine tribe possesses arcane spells that even my father, Odin, is unaware of. To the right is Alfheim, the land of the elves, who are renowned for their beauty and vast magical prowess. They tend to the flora and are fond of light, embodying the essence of kindness and benevolence. Beneath Midgard, there are also 4 worlds: Nidavellir, the realm of the dwarves, who are masterful craftsmen endowed with mysterious powers and profound knowledge, creating numerous treasures and weapons. Svartalfheim, the dwelling of the dark elves, characterized by malevolence. Niflheim, the kingdom ruled by the queen of the underworld, Hel, a frigid and fog-laden place of eternal night accessible only to the deceased. And lastly, Muspelheim, the fiery realm, a scorching land guarded by the giant Surtur, located south of the burning gulf. Additionally, outside Midgard lies Jotunheim, the land of the frost giants. The path from the human world to the realm of giants is marked by a terrifying iron forest. Legends also speak of a land beyond the sea known as the Giant Realm. Oh, does this imply the 9 realms, then? Barry inquired after Thor finished speaking. One might say so, Thor nodded in response. How do you traverse to these places? Via the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Bridge? What is that? At that moment, Natasha approached them and said, Loki wishes for Dr. Banner to transform into the Hulk. Thor, Barry, come with me to the lab immediately. Upon hearing this, The two promptly followed Natasha to the laboratory, where they found Tony questioning Nick Fury about what Phase 2 entails. The captain threw a gun onto the table and declared, Phase 2 involves S-H-I-E-L-D, utilizing the Tesseract to create weapons. Apologies, but this computer is rather slow for me. Peter rushed over and picked up the gun, exclaiming, Is this made from the Tesseract? Cool. Nick Fury then explained to the captain, Rogers, we are gathering all items related to the Tesseract. However, before he could finish, Tony turned the monitor to display the information. Interrupting Nick Fury, Apologies, Nick. Do you have anything further to add? I was mistaken, Director. This world has not changed in the slightest, Rogers remarked coolly to Nick Fury. The S-H-I-E-L-D utilized the Tesseract to develop weapons of mass destruction because Nick Fury pointed to Thor and continued, last year, an extraterrestrial being arrived on Earth, igniting a fierce battle that razed a small town. This not only revealed to us that other forms of life exist in the universe, but also highlighted that, in comparison, our combat capabilities are a mere -5. Upon hearing this, Barry uncomfortably touched his nose, deciding it best to remain silent. My people only desire to coexist peacefully with the inhabitants of Earth, Thor interjected. But you are not the only extraterrestrial life, are you? You are not the sole threat. The universe teems with beings far more formidable than us. No one can control them, Fury remarked with gravity. You are using the Tesseract to manufacture weapons, which will inevitably attract Loki and his cohorts. This sends a signal to other races, proclaiming that Earth is prepared for advanced warfare, Thor accused with a stoic expression and a rigid tone. Advanced? This is a reluctant necessity. We must be prepared, do you understand? It reminds me of the nuclear threat, as that always seems to quell any situation, Tony slowly articulated, presenting an argument that was hard to refute. I've had enough. What are you all doing? Pointing fingers at one another? Barry interjected hastily as tensions began to rise. Look! The scepter! Exclaimed the silent Sandman, Flint Marko, as he noticed the scepter emitting a blue glow. Just as everyone turned to look at the scepter, a resounding explosion erupted, sending everyone flying. All right, the Sandman is unharmed. Realizing they were under attack, everyone began to regain their composure. Tony and Rogers hurriedly donned their gear, while Peter appeared disoriented as he got to his feet. Nick Fury quickly spoke into his earpiece, inquiring about the situation. After being informed that the number 3 engine had shut down and needed repairs, he urgently called for Tony to take charge. However, in that moment, Dr. Banner began to transform due to the recent explosion's shockwave. Out you come, Green Behemoth. Unleash destruction in the name of Fury. The Sandman quickly moved to intervene, and Thor rushed to assist. Meanwhile, Barry and Peter busily helped the injured and repelled the intruders. A flurry of exhilarating combat ensued, with dramatic moments that somehow resolved themselves in the nick of time. Oh, and our Green Behemoth had been lured out of the flying aircraft carrier, while our God of Thunder experienced the thrill of plummeting from an altitude of 9,000 meters. Well, once again, in a critical moment, he broke free from confinement and soared into the skies. Loki had escaped. With the collaboration of Tony and Rogers, the aircraft carrier finally resumed normal flight. The agent Hawkeye, Clint Barton, who had been under Loki's control, was roused back to consciousness by our beautiful agent Natasha. All right, battle concluded. Everyone returned to their homes, seek out their mothers. What? You ask about the Chitauri army? Shall I say, if you wish for war, then let it be war? It can only be said that everything from Loki's capture to the current events unfolded precisely as Loki had orchestrated. Dr. Banner and Thor were unaccounted for, but thankfully, due to the timely rescue and intervention by Peter and Barry, the losses were relatively minimal. Nonetheless, this incident posed a significant challenge for the team. Each individual harbored their thoughts, amidst countless uncertainties. I believe the most effective approach is to engage in a confrontation. Let our respective energies unleash. Behold my Pegasus Meteor Fist. All right, I admit I made a mistake. Chapter 22, Amidst the War. First and foremost, I must procure a substantial supply of sticky time bombs, ensuring they are not overly large but possess significant power, along with several portable packs. By the way, there should be a considerable number of Chitauri soldiers, right? Additionally, please prepare some compact food items to elevate blood sugar levels. Barry was commanding from the platform, addressing Nick Fury with urgency. Notify the citizens of New York to evacuate. Loki has placed devices atop my building. At that moment, Tony burst in, shouting at Nick Fury, I need to check it out. Without waiting for Nick to respond, he took off into the sky. New York? No, I must first ensure Aaron's safety. Barry exclaimed, suddenly agitated upon hearing the mention of New York. Let us go together. Captain, Natasha, and Hawkeye approached. It turned out he had already received the news, gathered everyone, and equipped them with the best gear. Peter and Sandman hurried over as well. "Hurry up, Nick, prepare the supplies to be sent to Stark Tower," Barry urged, racing towards the aircraft. New York. The recently notified citizens were bewilderedly evacuating. Suddenly, a massive black hole emanating a blue light appeared in the sky, with black dots plunging downward. The crowd was startled to see the familiar red figure soaring upwards. Instantaneously, both sides exchanged fire. The citizens witnessed beams of blue light descending, followed by explosions, sending them into a panic. The organized military and police urged everyone to seek shelter nearby. Then, they commenced their counterattack. The battle commenced. In that initial moment, it was terrifying. Nothing is more pitiable than a crowd in sheer panic. They screamed and ran, many collapsing in the chaos. The attacked citizens were lost in confusion. Some faint-hearted individuals darting in and out of buildings, aimlessly scurrying down the streets. People called out to one another, offering assistance. This was a tragic war. One that was irreconcilable, a war where it was either your demise or mine. The roaring artillery shells illuminated the streets, buildings, vehicles, and the throngs of people. The soldiers' bullets erupted from every corner, targeting the airborne enemy forces. Military aircraft entered the fray. Both sides engaged in a deadly aerial ballet, chasing each other in a fierce pursuit. A rapid contest of death unfolded among the skyscrapers. Barrel rolls, tumbles, cobra maneuvers, and high-speed spins showcased the full range of aerial combat maneuvers. Having ensured Aaron's safety away from the battlefield, Barry retrieved the supplies that had been airdropped earlier. He packed the blood sugar-boosting bars into the portable bag and armed the time bombs. The battle was about to commence. Red light began to flash. Following the red glow, the Chitauri began to explode one after another. Peter, Hawkeye, and Natasha were rescuing trapped or injured citizens, while Sandman confronted a massive centipede-like creature in the sky. Oh yeah, the furious green giant has arrived. Just one phrase, hit it hard. With Barry's speed combined with the bombs, the Chitauri were swiftly obliterated. However, the black hole in the sky continues to deploy its forces. "Guys, I have very few bombs left," Barry lamented, glancing at the meager supplies in his portable pack. "The crowd has already relocated to the subway and bunkers," Peter remarked. "Then let us confine the enemy to this area. Not a single one must escape," Roger insisted. "Thor, go find your brother and ensure he disables the device. Peter, you and Barry stay below to eliminate the foes on the ground. Tony, check on the device and ask Professor Selvig how to shut it down. Barton, Natasha, head to the rooftop to assist the Air Force. Barry, use their weapons. Come on. Everyone, victory shall be ours." The group plunged back into the fray. A fighter jet arrived. The Avengers were joining the battle. Wolverine Logan, Cyclops Scott Summers, Storm Aurora, and Jean Grey emerged, restoring order to the chaos. Professor Selvig, regaining consciousness, offered vital advice. Use Loki's scepter to deactivate the Tesseract, for their energies are interconnected. Upon acquiring the scepter, as Professor Selvig had indicated, the Tesseract was lifted from the device by Loki's scepter. The black hole in the sky gradually closed until it vanished entirely, leaving the remaining Chitauri seemingly drained of energy, motionless on the ground. "We have triumphed." Soldiers, police, and civilians erupted in cheers at that moment. "Hooray, long live us. Well done, everyone. Let's take a day off from work tomorrow. Have you tried Turkish kebabs? There's a place just 2 streets away. I haven't had it yet, but I'm eager to," Tony said. "It's not over yet," Thor replied nonchalantly. "Let us go later." Loki, battered and ridiculed by the Hulk, looked at the crowd in front of him, trembling in fear, and said, "If you don't mind, I would like a drink." Despite the city's ravaged state, in what has been confirmed as an alien invasion, the heroic feats of a team known as the Avengers and the police offered solace and a reason to celebrate for many. Their existence was indeed a blessing. People expressed curiosity about the Avengers, yet they arrived like the wind and vanished without a trace. The entire world was abuzz. Nations dispatched representatives to the United States, some to provide aid, others to conduct interviews, and many negotiating for Chitauri weapons, equipment, and even corpses. Journalists from around the globe flocked to New York. Yet, our heroes were currently indulging in Turkish kebabs. Chapter 23. Aftermath. Eileen felt immense pride. "I am proud to have a heroic boyfriend who saved the world. It's impossible not to feel pride. Although I cannot boast about it everywhere, I still feel proud of him." Barry and Eileen relished their leisure time post-battle. Initially, Barry had intended to continue seeking Thor for information about other planets. But Thor had been exceedingly busy lately, caught up in various disputes and negotiations. His brother must be brought back, and the Tesseract could not remain on Earth. Thus, he tirelessly bombarded Nick Fury with earnest pleas. Nick Fury, feeling exasperated, ultimately acquiesced to his demands. Meanwhile, Tony Stark was deeply engrossed in a discussion with Pepper Potts, who had just returned from Washington regarding the reconstruction of their new Stark Tower. They temporarily disregarded the various news and banquet invitations circulating outside, reveling in their sweet, intimate world as they devised a plan for a new energy empire, contemplating life, ideals, and the future. However, he remained blissfully unaware that his ambitious energy empire plan would inflict significant losses upon Osborn Industries. Of course, even if he were aware, it mattered little to him. Young Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was also preoccupied with his romantic involvement with Gwen, continuing his daily escapades around New York City, eliciting cheers from the public. Unbeknownst to him, his friend Harry Osborn, the handsome heir of Osborn Enterprises, had set his sights on him, not Peter himself, but rather his genetic lineage. Meanwhile, the Sandman, Flint Marko, was by his daughter Penny's bedside, committed to her recovery. His agreement to join the Avengers stemmed from Nick Fury's promise to ensure his daughter received the best medical care, with expenses covered by S.H.I.E.L.D. After a sincere apology regarding the kidnapping of Gwen, Flint and Peter, along with Gwen, had fostered a friendly rapport, often visiting Penny in the hospital. Our Captain America was diligently adapting to the myriad changes of modern society, finding the near 70 years of transformation overwhelming. Yet he remained steadfast in his daily physical training. Occasionally, he sought out Peter to impart some combat techniques and would sometimes visit Penny in the hospital, though he rarely approached Tony. On the few occasions he did, he found himself bewildered by Tony's convoluted explanations concerning his armor, which only served to highlight his own ignorance. The formidable Hulk had retreated to the depths of the wilderness, feeling the need to escape a world he deemed excessively fragile. For the Avengers, the events transpiring in New York were merely a side note, a chance to make an appearance. Nevertheless, there were benefits to be gleaned. Public perception of mutants had improved significantly, with a noticeable reduction in hostility, although genuine friendliness remained elusive. Caution still prevailed, as the Avengers were perceived as a considerable threat. Any potential conflict between mutants and humans could lead to catastrophic consequences. Thus, the Professor's strategy was to cultivate amicable relations with the Avengers, fostering friendship where possible. Notably, the Flash, Barry Allen, played a pivotal role in this dynamic, and the Professor took great satisfaction in his decision to befriend Barry. Meanwhile, the American government seized upon these events to reinforce its global dominance, with numerous countries, in addition to the International Security Council, announcing their participation in the Earth Security Council. Countries hastily formed super teams comprising various supernaturally endowed individuals and mutants, resulting in an unprecedented awareness of global crisis among world leaders. Everyone is pondering a singular thought: what might transpire if an alien invasion were to occur in their own country? This contemplation has incited considerable unease among many. Today, Thor is set to embark on a journey to the realm of the gods with his brother. Barry, Peter, Tony, Flint, Hawkeye, and Natasha have all gathered to bid him farewell. Barry is well aware that traveling to other galaxies necessitates a vessel capable of navigating the cosmos, and indeed, Thor's domain possesses such a ship. However, to utilize it, Barry must obtain the consent of Thor's father, Odin. After all, operating their spacecraft requires an understanding of their advanced technological system, and even the most rudimentary piloting skills demand knowledge of their light energy technology. This is no trivial matter. Upon realizing this, Barry can do naught but await patiently. Meanwhile, Loki, handcuffed, accompanies Thor, clutching the Tesseract. In a flash of blue light, the two vanish without a trace. Once they have departed, Tony calls for a gathering. In this revelry, Barry, typically impervious to intoxication, finds himself utterly inebriated. Tony exclaims in dismay, lamenting the wastefulness of Barry's drinking, which resembles the act of consuming water.